The alarm sound filled the mining station as 3 alien ships came out of space travel near the asteroid belt. Director Hyun-woo, Kim looked at the screens showing the big crystal ships of the Vorthok hegemony getting closer to their base. They are early this year, said Chief Engineer Yoon-ji Park, standing next to him in the control room. Her fingers moved fast on the computer keys, sending secret messages to all mining stations in the area. Good, Hyun-woo said with a calm voice. Let them see what they expect to see. The 3 alien ships were huge, each one bigger than Earth's biggest building. Their crystal bodies shined with blue light as they moved through space. The Vorthok always sent the same message every year. They were coming to check that humans were following the rules. On the main screen, a tall alien appeared. Its body looked like it was made of living crystal, with bright blue light coming from inside. When it spoke, its voice sounded like breaking glass. Human mining facility. This is Commander Zethkalor of the Vorthok hegemony. We come for the yearly inspection. You will allow us to board your station. Yes, Commander, Hyun-woo said, bowing his head like a good servant. We are ready for you. As the alien ships got closer, something amazing happened that the aliens could not see. All around the asteroid belt, huge pieces of rock began to move. What looked like normal asteroids started to close like giant doors. Inside these fake rocks, massive machines and weapons disappeared from view. Whole cities of workers moved into hidden tunnels deep inside the space rocks. EUN-G watched her computer screen showing hundreds of signals going dark. All units are hidden, she said quietly. The Genesis, Defiance, and Retribution are now in full stealth mode. 3 hours later, the alien inspection team was walking through the mining station. Commander Zethkalor and 2 other Vorthok aliens looked at everything with their glowing blue eyes. They saw exactly what they expected to see, humans working hard to dig up metal and rocks from asteroids. Your production numbers are acceptable, the commander said, looking at a datapad. But we notice you have been using more energy than last year. Yes, sir, Hyun-woo said, acting nervous. We found some very hard rocks this year. We needed bigger machines to break them. This was partly true. The rocks were hard, but the real reason for using more energy was building the 3 planet-sized ships hidden in the asteroid belt. Each ship was as big as Earth's moon, and they needed huge amounts of power to build and run. The aliens walked through the mining tunnels, seeing human workers using simple tools to dig out valuable metals. They did not know that these same humans had been working on the most advanced weapons in the galaxy for over 200 years. Tell me about your new workers, Commander, Zethkalor said, pointing to a group of young humans. They are from Earth. Hyun-woo lied smoothly. Young people who wanted to work in space. The truth was very different. These workers were actually some of the best engineers and soldiers in human space. The young woman, fixing a mining robot, was Captain So-min Lee, who used to command Earth's Defense Force. The man carrying metal pipes was Dr. Jae-ho Nam, who designed the weapon systems for the hidden planet ships. Your species continues to serve well, the commander said. The Galactic Council is pleased with human work. We are honored to serve, Hyun-woo said, hating every word. For 300 years, the Galactic Council had kept humans trapped in their home system. They said humans were a minor species who could only do simple work. While the great alien empires ruled the galaxy with huge fleets of warships, humans were only allowed to have small ships for mining and trade. What the aliens did not know was that humans had been planning for this day. Since the very beginning, the inspection continued for 6 more hours. The aliens checked every room, every machine, every worker. They found exactly what they expected, a simple mining operation run by simple humans who knew their place in the galaxy. As the alien ships finally left, Hyun-woo and his team waited for 2 full hours. Only when they were sure the aliens were far away did they send the all-clear signal. Around the asteroid belt, the fake rocks began to open again. What came out was impossible to believe. From inside what looked like a small asteroid came a section of holes so big it blocked out the stars. The metal was smooth and dark, covered with thousands of weapon ports. This was just one small part of the Defiance, the first of humanity's planet ships. Report, Hyun-woo said into his radio. Defiance is ready, came the voice of Admiral Duhan Kong. All weapon systems are working. The crew of 95 million is at their posts. Retribution reporting, said another voice. All manufacturing systems are online. We can build a fleet of normal warships in 30 days. Genesis is ready, said a third voice. All civilian systems are working. We can support our population forever if needed. Yoon-ji smiled as she looked at the computer screens showing the 3 massive ships. Each one was a world unto itself, with cities, farms, factories, and weapons that could destroy planets. She had spent her whole life working on these ships, and now they were finally ready. The Drakmor Federation is moving ships toward the human colonies, said Captain Myung Choi, the intelligence officer. They plan to start bombing our people in 1 month. Hyun-woo felt anger fill his chest. The Drakmor Federation was known for destroying other species they thought were weak. They had wiped out 12 different alien races in the past 100. Years. Are we ready? He asked. More than ready, Admiral Kong said. We have been ready for 50 years. The question is, are we really going to do this? Hien Wu looked out at the stars, thinking about all the humans living on colony worlds, working in alien factories, serving alien masters. For 300 years, his people had been slaves in everything but name. Yes, he said finally, send the message to all stations. Operation Thunder begins in 72 hours. As the order went out, 3 planet-sized ships began to move through space. Each one carried more people than most alien worlds. Each one had weapons that could crack moons. Each one was proof that humans were much more than the galaxy thought. The age of hiding was over. The age of humanity was about to begin, in the deep space between stars. The 3 ships began their journey toward the center of the galaxy. Soon, everyone would know that Earth's children had built something amazing in the dark and cold of space. The galaxy was about to change forever. The emergency meeting of the Galactic Council started at dawn on the planet Nexus Prime, in the giant Crystal Hall. Representatives from 50 different alien species sat in their floating chairs, all talking at once. Dr. Myung Choi stood at the human speaking platform, her hands shaking as she held her speech papers. She was the only human allowed to speak at the council, and today she had to save her entire species. Honored council members, she began, her voice echoing in the huge room. I ask you to stop the Drakmor Federation from attacking human colonies. We have done nothing wrong. The Drakmor representative stood up. He was 8 feet tall, with dark red skin and 4 arms. His voice was like a growling animal when he spoke. The human species has grown too large, he said. They breed too fast and take too many resources. The galaxy needs fewer humans, not more. We only live on 12 worlds, Myung said. We take very little space compared to other species. Too much space, the Drakmor said. My people vote to reduce human population by half. Bombing their outer colonies will teach them to control their numbers. In the asteroid belt, Captain Jae-ho Nam watched the council meeting on his ship's big screen. He stood on the bridge of the Defiance, surrounded by his crew of the best human officers in space. They are really going to let them do it, said his second officer, Commander Taman. Oh, the council will vote to bomb our people. Jae-ho looked at the tactical display showing Drakmor warships moving toward human colonies. 200 ships, each one bigger than anything humans were supposed to have. They would reach the colony world of New Sol in just 3 days. Sir, said the communications officer, we have a message from Fleet Admiral Du Hyen Kong. All 3 planet ships are ready for Operation Thunder. Jae-ho had never seen a planet ship move at full speed. The Defiance was his home, his world, his responsibility. Inside its huge hull lived 95 million humans, scientists, soldiers, families, children. They had cities with parks and schools, farms that grew food, and factories that built amazing machines. Open a channel to Admiral Kong. He ordered. The main screen showed the Admiral standing in the command center of the Genesis. Behind him, Jae-ho could see the massive space that held the ship's main city. Buildings reached up toward the artificial sky, and he could see tiny people walking on streets far below. The vote is happening now, Admiral Kong said. Dr. Choi tried her best, but the council will not help us. On Nexus Prime, the council was counting votes. Species after species voted to allow the Drakmor Federation to bomb human colonies. The crystal beings of the Vorthok voted yes. The bug-like Nixari voted yes. Even some of the smaller species voted yes, too afraid to stand up to the big empires. The vote is 42-8, announced the council speaker. The motion passes. The Drakmor Federation may proceed with limited orbital bombardment of human colonies. Dr. Myung fell to her knees. She had failed. In 3 days, millions of humans would die, and there was nothing she could do to stop it. But she was wrong. Far out in space, Admiral Kong gave the order that would change everything. All ships, begin Operation Thunder. Take your positions. The 3 planet ships had been hiding in the dark space between stars for 2 months. Now they began to move toward their targets. The Defiance headed for Earth's solar system. The Retribution moved toward the galaxy's main trading hub at Kepler Station. The Genesis traveled toward the Drakmor home system. Each ship was like a small moon flying through space. Their engines were so powerful they bent space itself, letting them travel faster than any normal ship. As they moved, they caused gravity waves that every space-traveling species could detect. On the planet Vorthok Prime, the crystal beings felt the gravity waves through their bodies. The sensation was like an earthquake, but coming from space. What is causing this? Asked the Vorthok Emperor, his crystal body glowing bright with alarm. Unknown objects, Your Majesty, said his science advisor. 3 massive objects are moving through space. They are larger than anything we have ever seen. How large? Each one is approximately the size of your home, Moon, Majesty. The Emperor's glow flickered. That is impossible. No species has technology to build ships that large. But the sensors did not lie. 3 moon-sized objects were moving through space, and they were all heading toward important locations. On the trading station at Kepler, millions of aliens from dozens of species were going about their daily business. The station was a city, in space, with shops, restaurants, and docking bays for ships from across the galaxy. Suddenly, all the lights went out. Emergency power came on a moment later, but the gravity felt wrong. Every alien on the station felt heavier, as if a massive object was pulling at them. "What is happening?" asked the station commander, a blue-skinned being with 6 arms. "Sir," said his sensor officer, "there is a massive object approaching the station. It is ... It is enormous." On the main screen, they could see something impossible. A dark shape was blocking out the stars, getting bigger and bigger. It was covered with thousands of lights that looked like cities. On its surface, they could see what looked like forests and lakes and mountains. "It is a planet," whispered the commander, "but planets do not fly through space." The object settled into a stable orbit near the station. It was close enough that they could see tiny ships flying around it like insects around a moon. Then all the communication systems in the galaxy received the same message at the same time. The voice was human, speaking in clear words that the translation machines could understand perfectly. "This is Fleet Admiral Duhyan Kong of the Human Federation. For 300 years, our species has been treated as servants and slaves. We have been told we are too weak and stupid to have a real voice in the galaxy." The message showed a human man in a military uniform, standing in what looked like a command center. Behind him, massive windows showed the inside of a space so large, it had its own weather. "The Galactic Council has voted to allow the bombing of human colonies. This is unacceptable. We will not allow our people to be murdered while the galaxy watches and does nothing." The admiral gestured to something off-screen. "The 3 objects you are detecting are human warships. Each one carries more people than most of your worlds. Each one has weapons that can crack planets. Each one is proof that humans are not the weak species you thought we were." On Earth, people looked up at the sky and saw a new moon. The Defiance had taken position in orbit, its massive hull blocking out part of the sun. On its surface, they could see the lights of cities and the green of growing plants. "We do not want war," the admiral continued, "but we will not accept slavery. The human species demands recognition as an equal power in this galaxy. We demand a real voice in the Galactic Council. We demand the right to defend ourselves." The message ended with simple words that made every government in the galaxy call emergency meetings. The Drakmor Federation will not bomb human colonies. If they try, they will face the full power of the Human Federation. "We have been building in secret for 200 years. The time for hiding is over." Dr. Myung looked up at the council chamber ceiling as alarms began to sound. Through the crystal dome, she could see something that made her heart sing with hope. The Genesis had arrived at Nexus Prime. The planet ship was so large it looked like a second world hanging in space. Its weapons were not powered up, but everyone could see the thousands of gun ports covering its surface. "The human delegation requests permission to address the council again," she said, standing up with new confidence. "I think you will want to hear what we have to say now. The galaxy would never be the same." General In Ho Yoon stood in the war room of the Retribution, watching the biggest screen he had ever seen. The display showed 500 Drakmor Federation warships flying in attack formation toward his planet ship. Each enemy ship was painted dark red with black markings that looked like claws. "They think we are just a big rock with engines," said Captain Su Bin-jung, the leader of the Retribution's fighter pilots. "They have no idea what they are flying into." In-ho smiled grimly. The Drakmor had sent their punishment fleet to destroy what they called the human space rock. Their leader, War Commander Drexvosh, had bragged on all the galaxy's communication channels that he would crack the human ship like an egg. "Distance to enemy fleet," In-ho asked. 2 hours at their current speed," said Commander Tomino, who was watching the enemy ships on his sensor screen. "They are not trying to hide. They want everyone in the galaxy to see them destroy us." The Retribution looked like a huge gray planet hanging in space. Its surface was covered with what looked like mountains and valleys. Cities with millions of people lived in protected domes across the ship's surface. Inside the planet ship, vast factories built weapons and ships around the clock. But the Drakmor ships did not know the most important secret. The mountains on the Retribution surface were not just rocks, they were the biggest weapons ever built by any species in the galaxy. "Sir," said the communications officer, "we are getting a message from the Drakmor fleet." The main screen showed War Commander Drexvosh standing on the bridge of his command ship. He was huge even for a Drakmor, with dark red skin and 4 powerful arms. His eyes glowed yellow with anger. "Humans," he growled, "you have embarrassed the Drakmor Federation with your tricks. But tricks will not save you now. We will crush your pathetic ship and scatter your bodies in space. You are welcome to try," In-ho said calmly. "But I should warn you, this is not a fight you can win. We have 500 ships," Drexvosh roared. "You have 1. Even if your ship is large, it is still just 1 target." "Commander," EO said quietly, "you are about to learn why humans spent 200 years building these ships. The channel closed. Inho turned to his weapons officer, a young woman named the Jin Seo, who had trained her whole life for this moment. Show them what the retribution can do, he ordered. On the planet ship's surface, the mountains began to move. What looked like rocky hills split open to reveal massive gun barrels pointing toward space. Thousands of weapon ports opened across the ship's hull. The retribution had more weapons than the entire Earth Defense Force had ever built. Target the enemy formation, Dudgeon said to her crew. All weapons, prepare to fire. The Drakmor ships were still 2 hours away, but the weapons could hit targets on the other side of the galaxy. The planet ship had been built with one purpose, to end any fight before it really started. Sir, said the sensor officer, the enemy ships are laughing at us. They think we are trying to scare them. Inho watched the Drakmor ships flying confidently toward his position. They were moving in a tight formation, exactly like the military training books said they should. It was the perfect formation for fighting normal ships. That it was also the perfect formation for the retribution, to destroy all of them at once. Fire, Inho said. The planet ship's weapons fired as one. Thousands of energy beams shot out from the retribution's surface, each one brighter than a star. The beams traveled faster than light, reaching the Drakmor fleet in just a few seconds. What happened next would be remembered across the galaxy forever. The first beam hit the Drakmor command ship in the center of the formation. The massive warship, which had taken 50 years to build, simply disappeared. There was a brief flash of light, and then nothing. The second beam hit 3 ships at once, cutting through them like a knife through paper. The third beam destroyed 5 ships. The fourth beam took out 7. In less than 10 seconds, the entire Drakmor punishment fleet was gone. 500 ships, each one bigger than a city, had been turned into glowing dust and scattered metal. By the gods, whispered Captain Subin Jung, we just destroyed their entire fleet. Inho felt no joy in the destruction. Every Drakmor ship had thousands of crew members. But the galaxy needed to understand that humans were not victims anymore. Send a message to every government in the galaxy, he ordered. Tell them what just happened here. Tell them that any species that attacks human colonies will face the same fate. The news spread across the galaxy faster than light. On every world, in every space station, aliens watched recordings of the battle. They saw 500 warships destroyed by a single salvo from the human planet ship. On the Vorthok homeworld, the Crystal Emperor called an emergency meeting of his war council. How is this possible? He demanded. No species has weapons that powerful. The humans have been hiding their true abilities, said his chief scientist. We think they have been building these planet ships for over 200 years. What else are they hiding? We do not know, Your Majesty, but we should assume they have many more surprises. On the Nexari Hive world, the Queen Mother spoke to her millions of children through their shared mind. The humans are not what we thought, she said. They are not weak. They are not stupid. They have been pretending to be helpless while building weapons that dwarf our entire fleet. What should we do? Mother asked her children. We survive, she said simply. We do not fight the humans. We try to make peace. Back on the Retribution, Commander Tamino was reading intelligence reports from human agents across the galaxy. For decades, these agents had been working in alien governments, alien armies, alien companies. They had been watching, listening, and learning. Sir, he said to General Inho, we are getting reports from all over the galaxy. 6 smaller species have already sent messages asking to join the Human Federation. What about the major empires? The Vorthok are calling for peace talks. The Nexari are pulling their fleets back to defensive positions. Only the Drakmor are still talking about war. Inho was not surprised. The Drakmor Federation had built their entire culture around being the strongest warriors in the galaxy. They could not accept that humans were stronger. What about the Galactic Council? Inho asked. They want to hold emergency sessions. Dr. Myung is already talking to them about new rules for the galaxy. On the planet ship Genesis, Admiral Duhyan Kong was meeting with the leaders of several smaller alien species. The meeting was being held in the ship's main city, a place so large it had its own weather system. The alien visitors kept staring at the artificial sky above them, amazed that they were inside a ship. The Galactic Council has been controlled by the major empires for too long, said Ambassador Heiwan Shin, a human diplomat. The smaller species never had a real voice. What do you propose? Asked the representative from the Keldan Republic, a species of blue-skinned beings who had been enslaved by the Drakmor for 50 years. A new system, Admiral Kong said. Every species gets an equal vote, regardless of how many ships they have or how much territory they control. Democracy instead of ruled by the strongest. The major empires will never agree to that, said the Keldan representative. They will, Captain Wonseek, Lim said from his position by the wall, because if they don't, they will face the same fate as the Drakmor punishment fleet. The meeting continued for hours, but the message was clear. The galaxy was changing. The age of empire was ending. The age of democracy was beginning. As the Genesis continued its journey toward the galactic center, Its sensors detected something troubling. The remaining Drakmor fleets were gathering near their home world. Intelligence reports suggested they were planning something desperate. "Sir," said the communications officer, "we just received a message from Drakmor Prime. They are declaring total war on humanity. They are calling on all species to join them in destroying the human planet ships." Admiral Kang sighed. He had hoped the demonstration would be enough to prevent more bloodshed. But the Drakmor would rather die than admit they were not the strongest species in the galaxy. "Send word to the Defiance and Retribution," he ordered. "Tell them to prepare for the final battle. The Drakmor want a war. Let us show them what war with humanity really means." The 3 planet ships began to move toward the galactic center, where the ancient council chambers orbited a massive black hole. It would be there, in the most important place in the galaxy, that the future would be decided. The galaxy was about to see the true power of humanity unleashed. Admiral the Geneseo stood on the bridge of the Genesis, watching the most beautiful and terrible sight in the galaxy. Through the massive windows, she could see the Crimson Nebula, a cloud of red gas and dust that stretched across millions of miles of space. Hidden inside the nebula were the combined fleets of the Imperial Alliance, 3,000 warships from the Vorthok, Drakmor, and Nexari empires. "They think the nebula will hide them from our sensors," said Colonel Wonsik Lim, studying the tactical display. "They are wrong. The Genesis had been traveling through space for 3 months, liberating worlds that had been enslaved by the major empires." Behind the planet ship, a fleet of 500 smaller ships followed, vessels built by species that had joined the Free Species Alliance. "Status report," Dajin ordered. "The Defiance is in position on the nebula's north side," reported the communications officer. "The Retribution is approaching from the south. We have them surrounded." Ambassador Haewon Shin looked worried as she studied the enemy fleet composition. "Admiral, they have learned from their mistakes. These ships are not flying in tight formations. They are spread out across the entire nebula. It will not matter," Dajin said confidently. "Show them what we have built." For the past month, the Genesis had been using its massive manufacturing systems to build something new. The planet ship was not just a warship, it was a mobile factory that could create entire fleets in a matter of weeks. "Release the swarm," Dajin ordered from launch bays all across the Genesis's surface. Thousands of small ships began to emerge, but these were not normal fighter craft. Each one was controlled by advanced computers and could think for itself. They moved through space like a cloud of angry insects, each one the size of a house but faster than any pilot could fly. "Automated fighters," Wonsik explained to the alien ambassadors watching from the bridge. "Each one has the firepower of a normal warship, but no pilot to worry about. They can take risks that would kill a living being." The swarm of robot fighters entered the Crimson Nebula like a storm. The Imperial Alliance ships tried to fight them, but it was like trying to stop a hurricane with a sword. For every robot fighter they destroyed, 10 more took its place. "Sir," said the sensor officer, "the enemy is breaking formation. They are trying to escape the nebula." "Let them come," Dajin said. "It is time for the 3 ships to work together." What happened next had never been seen before in galactic history. The 3 planet ships began to move in perfect coordination, like dancers performing a deadly ballet. The Defiance attacked from the north, its weapons cutting through enemy formations, like a hot knife through ice. The Retribution came from the south, its massive guns turning enemy ships into floating debris. But it was the Genesis that performed the most amazing feat. The planet ship opened launch bays that were each the size of a city. From these bays came fully built warships, fresh from the manufacturing centers deep inside the ship. In just 1 hour, the Genesis launched 200 brand new ships, crewed by humans and their alien allies. "By the gods," whispered the Keldan ambassador, watching from the bridge, "you can build entire fleets during a battle. This is what 200 years of secret preparation looks like." The Jinn replied, "We did not just build 3 big ships. We built 3 mobile civilizations." The Battle of the Crimson Nebula lasted for 18 hours. When it was over, the Imperial Alliance had lost 2,000 ships. The Free Species Alliance had lost only 50 vessels, and most of those were older ships from allied species. "Admiral," said the communications officer, "we are receiving surrender messages from the Nexari fleet. They want to negotiate." "What about the Vorthok and Drakmor?" Duggan asked. "The Vorthok are retreating toward their home territory, the Drakm or ... double quotes." The officer paused. "The Drakmor are running toward the galactic center. They say they will make their final stand at the council chambers." Dajin felt tired. She had hoped the demonstration of power would be enough to end the war, but the Drakmor Federation would rather die than accept that humans were their equals. "Send a message to all ships," she ordered. "We advance to the galactic center. It is time to finish this." 3 days later, the 3 planet ships arrived at the most important place in the galaxy. The galactic center was a region of space where massive black holes pulled stars into spirals of light. In the middle of this cosmic storm, the ancient galactic council chambers hung in space like a jewel. The council chambers were built by the first space-traveling species millions of years ago. They were made of materials that could survive the incredible forces near the black holes. For thousands of years, they had been the center of galactic government. Now they were surrounded by the largest fleet in galactic history. "Count the enemy ships," the Jinn ordered. 4,000 vessels, reported the sensor officer. "Every remaining Drakmor ship in the galaxy is here. They have also hired mercenary fleets from 12 different species." "What about allies?" "The Free Species Alliance has sent 600 ships, but Admiral, most of them are small vessels. The enemy still has more firepower." The Jinn smiled. The enemy commanders were thinking like they had always thought, that the side with more ships would win. They did not understand that the rules of war had changed. "Open a channel to the enemy fleet," she ordered. The main screen showed Warmaster Krextall, the supreme commander of the Drakmor Federation. He was the biggest Drakmor the Jinn had ever seen, with scars covering his red skin and cybernetic implants replacing parts of his body lost in battle. "Humans," he snarled, "you have come to die in the most sacred place in the galaxy. How fitting. We have come to end this war." The Jinn replied, "You can surrender now and save lives, or you can fight and watch your entire fleet be destroyed." "Never," Krextall roared. "The Drakmor Federation will never bow to inferior species. We will fight until the last ship is destroyed." The channel closed. The Jinn turned to her crew, seeing the determination in their faces. These men and women had been born on the planet ships, raised to this moment. They were ready. "All ships," she announced on the fleet-wide channel. "This is Admiral the Jinn Essio. Today we fight not just for humanity, but for every species that has been enslaved by the major empires. Today we fight for freedom." The response from the Free Species Alliance fleet was immediate. Ships from dozens of different species acknowledged the message. The Keldan Republic had sent their entire fleet. The Zephyrian Collective had contributed their best pilots. Even some Vorthok ships had joined the alliance, their crews tired of their empire's brutal ways. "Sir," said one Sikh, "we are detecting something else." The fourth ship, the Jinn looked at the tactical display and smiled. There, emerging from behind one of the smaller black holes, was the newest planet ship in the human fleet. The Harmony was even bigger than the other three ships, and it had been built specifically for this moment. "This is President Ji-hoon Park," came a voice over the communications system. "I am aboard the Harmony with representatives from every species in the Free Species Alliance. We have come to witness the birth of a new galaxy." The Harmony was not just a warship. It was a symbol of what the galaxy could become, a place where all species worked together, instead of fighting for dominance. "Begin the final assault," the Jinn ordered. The 4 planet ships moved toward the enemy fleet like ancient gods of war. Their weapons lit up the space around the black holes, turning the cosmic storm into a battlefield of light and fire. The enemy fleet fought bravely, but they were fighting the past. The Drakmor tactics that had conquered dozens of species were useless against ships that could build new fleets during battle. The Vorthok energy weapons that had destroyed entire worlds barely scratched the planet ship's shields. "Sir," reported the tactical officer, "enemy fleet strength is down to 2,000 ships. They are beginning to break formation." "What about our losses?" the Jinn asked. "Minimal, Admiral. The planet ships have taken some damage, but nothing serious. The Allied fleet has lost about 100 ships." As the battle continued, something unexpected happened. Ships from the enemy fleet began to surrender. Not just the mercenary vessels, but Drakmor ships as well. Their crews had finally realized that they were not fighting for glory. They were fighting for the right of empires to oppress smaller species. "Admiral," said the communications officer, "Warmaster Krextall wants to speak with you." The main screen showed the Drakmor commander again, but this time he looked different. His ship was badly damaged, and half of his fleet was gone. For the first time in his life, he was facing certain defeat. "You have won," he said quietly, "but do not think this ends the way of the warrior. There will always be those who believe strength should rule." "You are right," the Jinn replied. "That is why we built these ships, not to conquer, but to protect. The galaxy will be defended by those who choose service over dominance." Krextall nodded slowly. Perhaps there is honor in that as well." As the last enemy ships surrendered, the 4 planet ships took positions around the council chambers. The old order was ending. A new age was beginning. But first, they had to build a government that would serve all species, not just the strongest ones. President Ji-hoon Park stood in the main hall of the old Galactic Council chambers, looking at the empty seats where the Empire representatives used to sit. The ancient building had been damaged in the final battle, but human engineers were already fixing the broken walls and shattered windows. "The new council will be very different," said Captain Eugene Bay, who commanded the newest planet ship, Harmony. "Every species gets 1 vote, no matter how big or small they are." Through the massive windows, Ji-hoon could see the 4 planet ships, positioned around the council chambers like protective guardians. Each ship was home to millions of beings from dozens of different species. The old galaxy of empires and slaves was gone forever. "Sir," said Ambassador Haewon Shin, walking up with a datapad in her hands. We have received requests from 47 different species asking to join the Free Species Alliance. Even some Vorthok and Drakmor worlds want to join us. What about the Empire governments? Ji-hoon asked. The Vorthok Emperor has agreed to give up most of his territory to the species as people enslaved, Haewon said. The Nexari Queen Mother is doing the same. The Drakmor Federation has completely fallen apart. Most of their worlds are now independent. This was exactly what Ji-hoon had hoped for. The planet ships had not been built to conquer the galaxy, but to free it. For too long, the strong had ruled over the weak. Now, every species would have a chance to choose their own future. Mr. President, said Dr. Myung-choi, the former human ambassador who is now the Alliance's chief diplomat, the first meeting of the new Galactic Council will begin in 1 hour. Representatives from 93 species are here. Ji-hoon felt nervous. Starting a new government for an entire galaxy was not easy. There would be arguments, disagreements, and probably some fights. But it was better than the old system where a few powerful empires made all the decisions. Are our people ready? He asked. Yes, sir, said Fleet Admiral Du Haeon Kong, who had arrived from the Genesis. The planet ships are positioned to protect the council chambers. We also have fleets stationed at all the major trade routes. No one will be able to attack the new government. An hour later, the Great Hall was filled with beings from across the galaxy. There were tall, thin creatures, with multiple arms, short furry beings with big eyes, and things that looked like living crystals. For the first time in galactic history, every species had an equal voice. The new Galactic Council is now in session, announced the speaker. A wise old being from a species that had been enslaved by the Vorthok for 300 years. Our first order of business is to choose the Council's leadership. The voting took 3 hours. When it was over, the galaxy had its first democratically elected government. The president of the council was chosen from the Keldan Republic, a species that had suffered under Drakmor rule. The vice president was a Zephyrian, and the secretary was a reformed Vorthok who had fought for freedom. What about humanity? Asked the Keldan president. Your people saved us all. Should you not lead this new government? Ji-hoon stood up too. Addressed the council. Humanity does not want to rule the galaxy. He said, we want to protect it. The planet ships will serve as guardians, making sure no empire ever rises to oppress others again. But how will this work? Asked a representative. From a small species near the galaxy's edge, what if someone tries to build a new empire? What if the old powers try to take back their territory? Captain Yujin Bei activated a holographic display showing the galaxy. 4 dots of light marked the positions of the planet ships. The Defiance will guard the northern sectors, she explained. The Retribution will protect the eastern regions. The Genesis will watch over the southern territories. The Harmony will patrol the central areas and respond to any major threats. And if all 4 ships are needed, asked the Vorthok representative, a crystal being who had helped overthrow his own emperor. Then we will come together, Admiral Kong said. The planet ships can travel anywhere in the galaxy in just a few days. Any species that tries to conquer others will face the full power of the Human Federation. The Council voted to accept this arrangement. The planet ships would be the galaxy's guardians, protecting the weak from the strong and making sure the new democracy survived. But there was still work to do. What about the species that were enslaved? Asked Dr. Myung. Some of them have been under Empire rule for so long, they do not know how to govern themselves. The Harmony will help them, Ji-hoon said. Our planet ship has teachers, engineers, doctors, and advisors from many different species. We will travel to worlds that need help and teach them how to build their own governments. And what about trade? Asked a merchant representative. The old empires controlled all the major trade routes. How will commerce work now? Free trade for all species, said the new council president. No more taxes to empire governments. No more restrictions on who can trade with whom. The galaxy's wealth will be shared fairly. Over the following months, the new system began to work. The planet ships traveled throughout the galaxy, helping former slave worlds build their own governments. They stopped 3 attempts by former empire officials to restart the old system. They even helped to negotiate peace between species that had been fighting for centuries. But the most important change was in how people thought about the galaxy. For the first time, beings from different species worked together as equals. Human engineers worked with Keldan scientists. Zephyrian pilots flew alongside reformed Drakmor warriors. Vorthok artists created beautiful works with materials provided by dozens of different worlds. Sir, said Commander Tamino, who was now the intelligence chief for all 4 planet ships. We are receiving a message from the edge of the galaxy. Our scouts have detected something unusual. Ji-hoon looked at the data on his screen. Far beyond the known galaxy, sensors were detecting signs of another civilization, ships that moved differently than any known species. Technology that seemed both ancient and incredibly advanced. What do you think it is? He asked. Unknown, Taemin replied. But they are definitely watching us. Our actions here have been noticed by someone else. Ji-hoon felt a chill run down his spine. Humanity had spent 200 years preparing for war with the galaxy's empires. But what if there were bigger threats out there? What if the galaxy's squabbles were just small problems compared to what was coming? Double the scout patrols, he ordered, and begin construction of the 5th planet ship. Something tells me we are going to need it. 6 months later, the galaxy celebrated its first Freedom Day. On every world, beings from all species gathered to remember the day the empires fell and democracy was born. Children who had been born as slaves were now free citizens with the right to choose their own futures. On the Harmony, Ji-hoon stood with his senior staff watching the celebrations on 100 different worlds. The screens showed beings dancing, singing, and sharing food in ways that would have been impossible under the old system. "Do you think we did the right thing?" asked Admiral Kang. "Sometimes I wonder if we should have just stayed hidden in the asteroid belt." "Look at them," Ji-hoon said, pointing at the screens. "Look at how happy they are. For the first time in their lives, they are free." "Yes, we did the right thing." Captain Ujinbei joined them at the observation deck. "Sir, the construction of the 5th planet ship is ahead of schedule. The protector should be ready in 2 years. "Good," Ji-hoon said, "because I have a feeling we will need it. The galaxy is free now, but freedom always needs protecting." As the celebrations continued across the galaxy, the 4 planet ships continued their patrol routes. They were no longer hidden weapons built in secret. They were the guardians of democracy, the protectors of the weak, and the promise that no empire would ever again rule through fear and oppression. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Sometimes the best way to win a war is to make sure everyone wins the peace. In the depths of space, human engineers were already drawing plans for the 6th planet ship. Because they had learned something else too, the galaxy was vast, and there were always new threats waiting in the darkness between the stars. But humanity was ready. They had built worlds that could fly through space, carrying entire civilizations to wherever they were needed. They had turned the dream of freedom into ships the size of moons, and they would never stop building, never stop protecting, never stop fighting for a galaxy where all beings could live free. The age of empires was over. The age of guardians had begun.